Sekeres Price for Wednesday, March 13th, 2024, coming to you from the Go-Goat Sports Studio, built by Arbor Lee here at the iconic Wall Center, downtown Vancouver, where if you're heading to a game or to an event downtown, make it a staycation. Call the Wall, 604-331-1000. Ask for the Sekeres Price rate based on availability. Matt Sekeres alongside Blake Price, Grace Ass hitting switches, conducting things, and a big show coming up for you, all brought to you by Applewood Auto.
Applewood Infinity Langley has one of the cars that has eluded me my entire life. I've always wanted a QX80. Now
I drove behind one yesterday. That's a big boy. Yep. Having been in the QX60, now driving it. Wow, all those children. You need room.
The 2024s?
And they're partners now. They have boyfriends and
that's true.
Girlfriends.
Always a lot
it's
of
amazing.
People. I did a carpool though with 6 field hockey players in the back.
Perfect.
Yesterday. Finance one yourself, the QX80 that is, from 0%. What? Today's economy, $8,000 non-stack cash as well. Go check it out. Applewood Infinity in Langley. It's all good at Applewood.
Do you remember the great poll question you once asked in the dead of summer? I'm having another kid. Should I get a minivan? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You have needed all that space and more over the years. And you get rid of children, and yet still you need space because they partner up or they're on teams, and now you're coaching.
Very polarizing poll question. Those that were in favor were very much in favor. Those that were against were very much against.
Like, no, Blake.
Yes.
Once you go,
you've given up. You've given up.
You never go back.
Yeah, it's sort of like sweatpants. Like once you go to sweatpants,
it's true. Once you start wearing sweatpants in public, that says something about you. Tim Horton's poll question today: who will, not should, who will win the Norris Trophy? You can vote for Quinn Hughes. You can vote for Cale Makar. Do so at Sekeres Price on Twitter and YouTube. Roll Up to Win is here for Tim's 60th anniversary. You can play on the Tim's app. Daily cash jackpot at $10,000. Win the all-electric Volkswagen ID4 and a sun-soaked Hilton getaway. Download the Tim's app. Roll Up is on till March 31st.
There's a reason why we rolled it out, if you will, like we did. Who will, not should. Because we wanted just this kind of response. The very first response to the tweet from Jet, they'll find a way to give it to Makar.
Oh,
whether we like it or not, we all know it's coming.
No, I disagree. I have been steadfast on this all season long. If Quinn Hughes outpoints Cale Makar and the Vancouver Canucks finish ahead of the Colorado Avalanche, it will be Quinn Hughes' award. Right now, he has more points. The Canucks have more points as well. Of course, Colorado can get closer. For now, the goaltender is down, so we'll see how this next block goes. But if you're asking me right now, it will be Quinn Hughes. I feel confident in my colleagues in the Professional Hockey Writers Association. They recognize the sublime season that Quinn Hughes has. How can you not? Nobody was talking about this team at the top of the West. Even the most optimistic was maybe we could get the 3rd seed in the Pacific. Maybe we slip into one of the wild cards. Well, no, they have held the lead in the Western Conference for pretty much most of the year. And what's the reason behind that? Quinn Hughes, first and foremost.
Because of this matchup, perhaps the NHL website, NHL.com, has 14 in-house writers. By the way, that's a lot. 14 in-house NHL.com writers.
NHL.com has 14?
That's what they say. So they cast their vote for the Norris on a 5-4-3-2-1 points scale. The winner by 16 points. Pretty good win. Quinn Hughes. 68 points for Hughes, 52 for Makar, and Noah Dobson in third with 36 points. So it was a 2-horse race. But the 2-horse race wasn't a photo finish. Hughes won, kind of going away.
I'm not surprised to see that because when you work at NHL.com or for NHL media, you kind of have a responsibility to cover the entirety of the league.
You're less New York focused, do you
give love to the entirety of the league. They're based in New York. They're very much focused on New York, I'm sure, in their day-to-day. But when they go on out to do league-wide articles, polls, what have you, I think they like to spread the love. I'm a little more worried about my PHWA colleagues who are a little less inclined to watch out-of-market games and catch Quinn Hughes and just reflexively vote for Cale Makar, which is why I think Quinn outpointing him matters. And as we stand here right now, it's Hughes with 76 in 66 games. Makar was 71 in 61 games. Remember, he missed some.
Yeah.
So you do wonder, he's slightly ahead, like 0.01 ahead in points per game. I do wonder if that will make the difference for a few voters. But right now, I have faith that it's going to be a Hughes vote.
I have never seen social media as filled with Quinn Hughes talk as this season, though. Particularly in the first half, it's
well. How could you not?
It's trailed a little bit here in the second half of the season, but my goodness, all of your favorite stats, follows.
How could you not?
Yeah. I mean, he's accomplished a lot. And how many times have we brought out he's the first defenseman to do it since blah, blah, blah. And you're like, what?
Every single one of those posts from the NHL or NHL PR, Quinn Hughes, and then names Bork or Coffee.
Yeah.
Like, surely that's got to be influential, right?
Yeah.
If you're following those accounts, as I imagine most people who cover hockey and vote on this award are, Bork or Coffee. Like, that's the who's who of defensemen in the National Hockey League Hall of Fame, or in the Hockey Hall of Fame. The other thing I think don't discount here, Blake, is the even strength points. Quinn Hughes, 47 even strength points. That's best. That's even a bigger margin over Makar. So it's not like he's just loaded up on points like we've seen some defensemen do in the past with their power play totals.
Well, the other thing is that Bednar goes out of his way to get him out there with Rantanen and McKinnon a lot. Like, more so than
almost like a Russian 5 type of,
right. So, and that helps you win games. But in terms of individual trophies, if we're going to, how much of what he does is floated by playing with those guys. Now, you mentioned that last step, Bork and Coffee. That was the triple 60 assist seasons.
Right.
And I thought,
consecutive 60 assist seasons.
Surprised Makar hasn't done that. Makar has never had a 60 assist season.
He scores a few more goals, though.
He does.
He
does.
He's
although they're only separated by 4 goals.
He's more unicorny. I will grant you that. He's more unicorny. He's had more NHL success, both team and personal. I would also argue he's louder. He's a little more noticeable. I think on most nights.
He has the potential for the spectacular.
But fair enough.
Because of the goal scorer.
Although, Quinn in this year and coming down off that point, short side goals, he holds his own on spectacular.
Honestly, Cale Makar's edge worker is really good too. But if you've ever skated, you appreciate Quinn Hughes even more. Like, if you played at all, because you know how hard that edge work is to pull off.
Grady, where are you at on the poll?
Hughes. Easy peasy.
Very economical today, Grady. Thank you for that.
I'm 50-50 on it, honestly. I'm
really?
right on the fence. Did you vote
Makar? Did you vote Makar?
I haven't officially punched the button yet. I'm waiting for.
I mean, it's not a slam dunk by any means.
No,
Makar can go off here and overtake him, but as of right now, I would lean Hughes.
And
maybe because I have a
again, not opinion, prediction.
Yeah, prediction. But like we were saying last week, in terms of the team MVP, and sadly, I wonder whether Thatcher Demko may have lost his opportunity at that if he misses too many games here, and Miller and Hughes continue to play as they will. There's still a number of candidates that can get there with what's left of the season. That's part of the fun of these
this trophy race in Norris.
Well, I think it's up to one of those two guys.
Right.
Yeah. There's enough runway that I think if you've got Quinn ahead right now, Makar can bypass. If you think Makar's ahead now, I think Hughes can bypass.
And he's not going to win it, but man, is Noah Dobson having a hell of a season too.
Remember when Canucks fans wanted Noah Dobson for basically Raymond Ballard in a third? We heard a lot about Noah Dobson at one point as the right shot defenseman that was going to cure the Canucks.
Dobson's having Josh Manson's season was it last year where Manson went off?
Manson.
Who I think Morrissey.
Yeah.
Morrissey
had an incredible
still a
year.
great defenseman.
Right.
But Morrissey had this standout year.
Well, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Morrissey, he's not going to win, But I wouldn't be surprised if Morrissey gets into the discussion a little bit just because he is far and away Winnipeg's best defenseman. They're having a good year as well.
Mm-hmm.
And last I checked, he was doing pretty well in defenseman scoring.
He's 7th,
yeah.
But he's, 23 points back of Quinn Hughes. 23 points is like a Tanev season. He's at full Tanev back of Quinn Hughes.
Let's get into our top story, life without Demko and the final frontier. The Colorado Avalanche at Rogers Arena on Wednesday night. It is a 7:30 puck drop. And a reminder, we'll be at Park Casino 6 to 7 p.m. at the BC Kitchen doing a live pregame show. J-Pat's going to stop by. You get 15% off your game day, the game day menu at BC Kitchen with your game ticket. It's just steps away from Rogers Arena. So come on down, say hello. We'll have some prizes on site. The Vancouver Canucks have beaten every team in the National Hockey League this year, save 2. The Philadelphia Flyers, 0-2. And unless they get another crack at them in the Stanley Cup final, that's going to remain the unanswered loss. And the Colorado Avalanche, 0-2 against the Avs. And they'd beaten Vegas. There was a time, remember, they hadn't beaten Winnipeg. They'd beaten Winnipeg. There was a time where we looked over across at the Eastern Conference and some of those heavyweights, including the New York Rangers. They've got to win against the Rangers. So they have beaten everybody of consequence, Florida, Boston, Carolina, except for the Colorado Avalanche. The Stanley Cup champion of 2 years ago, who have a couple victories against the Canucks this year. This is their final opportunity, lest they meet in the Western Conference final, which is where they would meet if both of these teams hold station and are divisional playoff seeds come mid-April.
Wouldn't that be something if they can beat the Avs and it's just John Tortorella and his F no, I'm not leaving-ness that is able to say they conquered the Vancouver Canucks this season? I think that would be something to behold for Torts. It may be all that he has to hold on to at the end of the season.
I don't for a second think that Torts would message anything about his former teams in the games meaning more. Do you think games against his former teams mean more to John Tortorella? Especially based on the performance in Tampa where he wasn't leaving.
I would say the answer is yes, but this would be maybe the one exception because he was the one that came out and said, I was not myself. He almost was apologetic about his stay.
He should have taken the step back after the Rangers. He kind of rushed into this and
he wasn't himself. He said.
Right.
So
we were going to hash it out over burgers and beers. And then that never happened.
Now that being said,
and he was off to coach Columbus, which he coached pretty well actually for a number of years there.
Yeah. Got a lot out of the little again.
Who else has gotten anything out of the Columbus Blue Jackets in their history?
Yeah.
So Casey DeSmith is going to start, and Tuesday after practice, Rick talked it aloud that Casey DeSmith is going to start the next 2 games. And as we know, the Canucks schedule is a little.
I thought he said few. It got quoted as 2 by some people.
I got 2. So Colorado Wednesday, Ovechkin, the Capitals on Saturday. And Tocchet says DeSmith deserves a chance. Let's take a listen.
Yeah, as of now, I mean, we're just going like game to game. I mean, obviously, Casey, if something really bad happens to him, but he's definitely going to get the next 2 games. I mean, we'll go from there. But he's going to have some practice time. I think Casey deserves a chance to get the ball and take it, regardless of what happens tomorrow night. But which I think he'll be fine. So yeah, we'll see how it goes here.
I think that's smart for me and Clark and Rick Tocchet to let him know, on the front end, you're going to get games plural. I'm with you. I think if he had been a little less specific and said a few, then that might have been a little extra confidence shot. But Casey DeSmith has been around the league and also understands that if he goes out and has a couple of stinkers, then coach has to go to the next guy, right?
Yeah, you ain't got time to bleed if you want to finish first, that's for sure. Just the way the calendar sets up, to me, it's 3 games. It's the few. Colorado, weekend versus the Capitals, next Tuesday versus the Sabres, and then you get it. Yeah, what do you mean?
Well,
because then you
it's a 3-day break, and you're facing a bad team in Buffalo.
No, I'm saying
It's a two. Yes.
Give him the few games. Give him all 3.
Well,
and then when it gets busy in the middle part of the homestand, give the Montreal Canadiens game to shield.
So one of the reasons why I think he's saying 2 is because if you get through the Washington game, you got 2 days off, then you got a really bad team coming in here. That to me would be a spot that I'd be more comfortable playing Archer Shiloffs than some of the other spots on the trip. Now you could argue Montreal 2 nights later, the Thursday game, fair enough.
Like significantly.
But, I asked J-Pat the question yesterday. I thought those 2, and then you have Anaheim on the Sunday matinee, Blake. And do you remember last year they put a nothing game between the Ducks and Canucks on TNT late in the year?
Mm-hmm.
That game's on TNT too.
Oh my gosh.
A 12:30 start for us here on Sunday, March 31st. It's the final game of this epic 9-game road trip. So those are your weak sister spots to play the backup goalie.
Do you know that?
And of course, we've known those shoes for many years here with the Canucks. They've seen a lot of backup goalies over the last 9 years.
Canucks just want to get points. Any way to get to 107 points at this point, pardon the points, any way to get to 107 is fine. The Montreal Canadiens have 15 regulation wins.
Wow.
So 50 nights out of 65 against the Montreal Canadiens, you're leaving with points.
Mm-hmm.
So to me,
you draw a distinction between them and the Sabres.
They give you points. They give you points.
Just so very generous. Once upon a time, they felt guilty. The Stanley Cup parade will take the usual route, collecting all those Stanley Cups, collecting all those Hall of Famers. We're now in a very much more giving era of the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, for now.
Used to be selfish, now abundantly generous.
Looks kind of good on them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. They had a look in the mirror, a word with themselves.
Yeah. They also had a pretty good century last time.
Yeah, they had a pretty good century. This century, not so much.
No.
Of course, no Canadian team has had a particularly good century.
No, it's true.
Here's the other thing about Tocchet. And from the moment Casey DeSmith got here, he was overjoyed. And part of that is because he had a tough year in Pittsburgh. He was part of that trade to Montreal where the 3-way trade, right, Grady, who was involved in it, Jeff Petrie and other pieces, as I recall. And the Canadians immediately said, we will not be keeping this player. We'll be moving him on.
Mm-hmm.
So to have a bad season, to get traded, and then to hear the acquiring club has no immediate plans for you and just wants to move you and your salary on. He gets here. He sees familiar faces in Jim Rutherford, Patrick Allvin, Rick Tocchet, and some of these players, of course, who have played for the Pens. So he's been overjoyed to be here. He gets in the opener because Thatcher Demko's sick. They beat Edmonton. He gets the next start. They go into Edmonton. He's under fire, and he pulls that one out of the fire. So it has been a joyful existence here for Casey DeSmith, even during that 1-5-1 stretch that he has now gotten out of. Here's Tocchet on the guys and how they feel about DeSmith.
He's well-liked. The players, listen, I'll be honest, I've been in the league somehow 40 years or whatever. When you like the goalies, you tend to block more shots for a guy. I don't know why. I've had some goalies where you're not a big fan of the guy. I'm not saying I kind of veered out of the way, but when you really like a goalie, you really dive in. Those guys really love Casey. So I think you'll see a lot of guys willing to block shots like they do for Denver.
That's good honesty on coach. If you like the guy, you're more willing to block the shot for him. Unless you're Chris Tanev, you would block the shot for anybody. I mean, you block a street hockey shot for a
Tocchet played for a bunch of good teams.
So what goalie do you think he's talking about when he said some goalies didn't like as much? Because there's one that jumps out to me from the team that he made his name with.
What? You think he didn't like Hextall?
Oh, I think a lot of people didn't like Ron Hextall.
But they did block shots for Ron Hextall.
I think to this day, there's a lot of people who don't like Ron Hextall. Weird dude.
Tom Barrasso?
Tom Barrasso would be another one on the list. It's all in the name Barrasso.
Kelly Rudy.
No.
No. You got to like Kelly and Grant.
What's Ken Reagan's reputation.
Nikolai Habibulin.
Ken Reggett is
Milquetoast.
Ken Reggett is the Chad Ruby, the Live Pass goalies. We don't need to talk about him.
Oh, Ken Reggett. Come on. He was, and he followed him around too. Ken Reggett was everywhere.
Burke was well liked by his
Bob
team.
Essenza.
Oh, I don't know.
Back up Bob. Everybody loved back up.
Robert Esch.
Yeah.
Most people like Esch.
Yeah.
He's gone into politics effectively in Utica.
Roman Czechmanic.
Weirder dude.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Weirder dude.
Brian Boucher was well liked.
In media now.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Hextall and Barrasso. I wonder. Okay.
Enough of that.
Yes. Grady's getting uncomfortable with talk about
Bad goalies.
about goalies who are bad people.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm a part of the goalie union. I
Right.
love all goalies equally.
Tyler Myers was on the ice skating with what was a very well attended morning skate at Rogers Arena. And that's important because that's the second time this week that Myers has joined the group. So that whole 1 to 2 week timeline for Tyler Myers looks like it's coming into fruition. No reason to doubt that.
Stayed late after the
Right
skate
now,
too.
yeah,
and
absolutely.
Put in extra work. So I
So
would
not
think
playing tonight, but
Saturday looks.
Saturday looks good. If
Yeah.
not, you would think against his old club, the Buffalo Sabre, one of his old clubs.
That's effectively 3
Next
practices.
Tuesday.
I'm assuming they get tomorrow off and then we'll practice on Friday. So,
So they'll practice either Friday or Monday.
but they're not going to get 2 days off again. So they got 2 days off here. They're going to practice one day and have a rest day. So he's going to have 3 practices under his belt. Tyler Myers is playing versus the Capitals.
Okay.
I'd put strong money on it.
Speaking of Canucks
So-
defense, did you guys see this quote from Mark Messier today?
No.
He says he really likes the way the Canucks are built. He said, one of the things I like about the Canucks is that they have a really big, strong defense. Other than some inexperience in Vancouver, you've got to look at their team as being really positioned well to play well in the playoffs.
It's nice of Mark.
Yeah.
Wish I cared.
Well-
I've got to say, for as big a name as he is, for the amount of stature he has, particularly in
Yeah.
Is he
New
pandering?
New York City.
Yeah. He's just.
No, but of all the newer studio analysts or even game analysts that have come on board with ESPN and TNT, I sometimes forget like Messi is even a part of them. Like to me, he's made the least impact of them all.
Is he on TV right now?
Yeah, no, he's on ESPN
Really?
with PK Subban.
Really?
Yes.
Are you
Yes,
saying
and
his
Steve Lee?
personality is as
No,
stale
what-
as a Lay's potato chip?
He's Magic Johnson.
That's the other thing. He's a really good actor. Like he's still doing endorsement deals. As hockey players go, Mark Messier is a terrific actor and pitchman. We wondered about Gretz because he had been so vanilla. And then what we didn't realize at the time is we've gotten a Wayne Gretzky who has gotten to a point in life where he has fewer F's to give and is willing to come out and give strong opinions.
Yeah. Wayne's got
And
takes.
and Wayne's got takes. And also Wayne, Wayne used to be in a spot where he knew whatever he said would make headline news. And so it was very cautious. Now I think he sort of relishes it. Like, okay, I'm the biggest ambassador, caretaker, and my words carry some weight. And he's telling great stories on those panels.
And he's willing to be the clown, like the MGM
Exactly.
ads with Connor
Yeah.
McDavid, where he's sort of being the hey, the net's that way. He's being the curmudgeon, like he's
even
okay.
his dismissiveness towards some of Biz Nasty's hijinks is
Yeah.
funny too.
I don't know if the dynamic.
Messier, zero impact. Subban is,
Yeah, I was
needless
just
to
gonna
say,
say,
taking up some oxygen
The
there.
dynamic there, I'm not sure.
we
it
saw that
works.
coming, I think.
Yeah. So, anyways, Myers comes back. Blake's predicting Saturday against the Capitals, and that's going to create some tough choices on the defense core in terms of who to play. And the phrase load management has come up, much as we saw once earlier this season with Ian Cole. Here's Rick Tocchet.
I know, guys don't want to hear it. It's going to be, you got to make sure that you make sure as coaches that you explain to certain guys that some guys might not like it if they're out, but we're at the point of the season where if we got healthy D, you're going to have some good defensemen that are going to sit out, and that's the job of the mentality of the coaches staff to make sure guys understand that. You got to be a good team guy and all that stuff. But yeah, I've been there. We've all been there before. Everybody wants to play. We're lucky we have we got a healthy lineup. Even like Friedman, he's not playing, but even the games he played, I thought he played well for us. So it's you got to stay ready.
Even Friedman.
Good honesty. So look, let me throw this at you. We've seen Ian Cole get a load management scratch this year. I'm not sure you're going to do that with Carson Soucy because of how few games he's played.
No.
But if there is anything nagging there, I would suggest he would be a candidate as well. Maybe was Zadorov, but he plays 17 and a half minutes, so it's not like night in, night out. He's hugely taxed. Maybe Tyler Myers gets a load management scratch somewhere down the stretch here. I could see that. What about the top two guys? Does everything have to be locked up before you even consider a load management scratch for Hughes or Hronek?
I mean, game 81 maybe, but we're a ways from that. We're a ways from that. And truthfully, we're a ways from any of these veterans getting the load management scratch until mid-month again,
because no back-to-backs.
Yeah, the schedule is just so nice for them right now that nobody should be that dog tired. So I think they do just want to see what 6 top defenseman looks like in this lineup. You know, like they haven't had the benefit of all these 6 guys being healthy at the same time for very long. So let's see what they look like with all 6 of them in the lineup. I think he wants to see it.
Absolutely. All 6 of them in the lineup. We got a full studio here today.
Mm-hmm.
Bryce and Amon from Bert's Electric are sitting in watching the show. One of the great parts about working here in a public foot traffic area like the Wall Center is you will happen upon listeners. So Bryce and Amon have been in here fixing the lights, helping us out in the green room, and just been seeing them all week. They're listeners to the show. So come on in, enjoy it from the comforts of the studio. We've had a great working relationship with Bert's Electric.
Download it anyway, please, guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. We can't afford you guys not doing the listen,
Yeah.
but I appreciate you guys and all the help this week and hanging on out in the studio. And thanks to everybody at Bert's Electric who have helped us get this thing together here at the Wall Center in our 2 locations, our studio and our green room. Thanks, gents. All right. New contracts for Cami Granato, Emily Castengay, and Ryan Johnson as the assistants to the general manager. So his star continues to rise in the Jim Rutherford, Patrick Alvin administration.
Which is
and finally, he can point to some results of guys who have been
developed,
in Abbotsford, developed and turned into NHL players, most notably Nils Höglander.
No, Ryan Johnson, we were told long ago with the previous administrator, oh, this guy's super sharp and all. But still, when you are
need results. I mean, there just weren't a lot of results.
No, but also just the pure politics. When the management does change, you could be the greatest guy in the world, but still some new managers will be like, he's not our guy, he's out. Well, they gave Ryan Johnson, the runway to sort of prove himself for them, and they've welcomed him with open arms. And here he is, still making inroads in his career. And hey, everything's coming up roses for this team. So it's no surprise that everybody is getting new contracts and a chance to see this through.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if there are any other staff changes afoot here with Canucks Sports Entertainment and the hockey operations department. They've got to get to a point where they've got more stability. There has been a lot of turnover on the hockey ops side, on the business ops side over the years with the Canucks. They got to get to a place where they were back in 2011, back 2012, where you had like best in class professionals heading up all the department and they were rooted here. They were absolutely not looking elsewhere and willing to stay for long periods of time and give you that sort of institutional knowledge and continuity that can really help any organization.
And so far into their tenure, they have shown like they can get back to that level. I mean, the bar was so low from the regime before
that's it.
That pretty much anything was going to look like an improvement.
Right. And we were all on alert when Derek Clancy, who was an AGM, left last year for the Leafs. Went, oh, okay, what's that about? Anyways, I saw Sergei Chibisov recently. Their Russian scout was let go. And who did he join up with? Dallas. Yeah. So anyways, we'll see what other changes are afoot with the hockey ops department. You know, typically you get through the trade deadline, maybe you do some things there, or you at least have a plan in place in terms of where you're going after the entry draft and free agency. That's when we tend to see a lot of the turnover in those roles. Just one other thing. You asked about Christian Wolanin on Tuesday's program. I reached out to Ben Lipka.
Hasn't played since January.
Yeah, I reached out to Ben Lipka of the Abbotsford News, who does a great job covering the Abbey Canucks. And he said the last was told, or the last they said on Wolanin was in mid-February. They said it was going to be 3 weeks or so.
3 more weeks, yeah.
Right. So he suspects there's a chance that Wolanin could get in as soon as this weekend. He said it's been tough to tell because they didn't let people attend practice when Phil Kessel was there.
No gawking at Phil Kessel.
No videos of a hunched over Phil Kessel. Wouldn't want to embarrass Phil.
Wow. January 17th, the last game for Christian Wolanin.
Yeah.
So, he'd be handy. And Rick Tocchet has spoken glowingly of Wolanin before. So,
and we bring up that name just because he did pretty well towards the end of last year.
Yep.
There were a lot of people that thought he would be the third pair left side defenseman for a good part of this year.
Also, just a small worry, and it's a microscopic one, I think, but they do probably have to put Friedman on waivers here sometime soon.
Right.
And there's a micro percentage point that somebody picks him up.
So if you lose Friedman on waivers, then your eighth.
Actually, is there no waivers after the trade deadline now?
No, I believe there's waivers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you lose, if you were to lose him, then your eighth defenseman, so second man up after injuries and attrition start in the playoffs, or maybe even the first guy up on the left side, Blake. Right? Because unless you're going to play Juleson on the, of course, we could have a scenario where a lefty's already playing the right side, but very well could see a Christian Wolanin at some point if injuries further strike the Canucks.
You just can't play in the playoffs
Yeah,
if you're claimed on the waiver wire. So you reduce the likelihood of your guy getting claimed because teams would need just immediate help and only immediate help to claim him.
Let's get to today's menu. It is brought to you by Greta, 50 West Cordova. It's a fantastic spot to pre-game, post-game, catch the game all through the season and into the playoffs. Awesome place to chill in the off-season as well. Quick walk to the rink or stadium, go-to spot for food, drinks, fun, before, after, and during. Check it out. Greta at 50 West Cordova and gretabar.com. Arcade as well.
Big Mario Kart. Not Mario, Matthew. Mario Kart tourney coming up.
Did I say Mario?
Yes, you did. And we roasted you on Canucks Conversation for that.
Oh, really?
Super Mario? Yeah.
Who was doing the roasting, Grady?
I think I was led by me.
See, he's that
Is
kind
that
of a
where you
backstabber.
litigate your grievance against me?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I had to make sure Quads knew how to pronounce it right. So,
Oh, did Quads not know?
no, I just wanted to make sure.
I'm surprised I didn't say Mario.
It's me, I'm Mario.
I know Wario.
You're more of a
Quads is
Wario.
too young to even know what Mario, like, truthfully.
Well, you
doesn't
think
he?
Quads has a chance with Luigi?
In terms of knowing him?
Knowing who Luigi is?
Yeah, probably not.
Luigi sort of faded as a character in Mario's world.
No, he was there for.
No, he was there. He was OG
Yeah, no, he was.
outside of Princess, but then as they introduced more and more of a Toad and
No, Super Mario World. He's
who's
there.
the drag? No,
Princess Peach and
who's who's the
Thinking of Bowser.
Bowser? Thank you, Bowser's Castle, and Wario, and there was others. Luigi,
Toad.
Exactly. Yoshi. He sort of faded into original Mario Kart.
Almost said it.
I would take any of you on in OG Mario Kart with Yoshi or Toad.
What's
You've
that?
got no chance.
Super Nintendo?
I believe
64?
64.
No,
I'm kicking both
no,
your
I don't
asses.
want 64.
GameCube.
No, I want Super Nintendo. Once we get into too many buttons, I can't do it.
I want
Once I have to use paddles,
I want
I'm
brake,
done. I
and
just
I
need
want left,
I
right.
want 2 buttons and then I'm in the
Simpleton.
game. It's true. Irfaan Gaffar is going to join us. We'll get to some hashtags, the best and worst of Twitter, including a former Vancouver Giant making his NHL debut. The Flames having to walk away from a draft pick. It has not been a good year for Calgary Flames players and impropriety. And lo and behold, we have a new leader in the Macklin Celebrini sweepstakes as well.
Connor Bedard's just too good. He's lifting the Hawks
That's right.
out the basement.
So all that's coming up. Irfaan Gaffar is next.
In a season like this, you never want to miss a single second of what's happening on the ice, and you want to be around your fellow fans, right? Well, Greta Bar YVR at 50 West Cordova, the perfect spot to do so. Hey, if you've got tickets, a great place to pre and post. They've got drink specials every single day. And if you don't have tickets, well, stick around and soak up the atmosphere with all your fellow fans, play all the great video games and air hockey, great air hockey setup as well at Greta Bar YVR. We'll see you there, 50 West Cordova.
Come join us at Park Casino, the official casino resort of the Vancouver Canucks, Wednesday, March 13th from 6 to 7 p.m. We're going to do a live pregame show at BC Kitchen. Prior to the game against the Avalanche, you get 15% off the game day menus with your game ticket at BC Kitchen.
Also, a great place to get pregame drinks, your pranks, if you will. $6 happy hour specials at the Center Bar, and it's all just steps away from the arena at Park. Also, with the Encore Rewards, get a $10 free play at the Canucks Gaming Corner as well. All that at Park.
Great Clips is the official hair salon of the National Hockey League. There are 37 salons in Vancouver and the Lower Mainland, all Canadian-owned and operated. Download the app and find the nearest to you. When you're up next for a cut, you'll get a ready next text. Great Clips. It's going to be great. Joined now by Irfaan Gaffar, who's been, busy since the National Hockey League trade deadline. We'll get to that in a second, Irf, but Filip Hronek, the Vancouver Canucks, tabled him an offer. What are you hearing about the details there and how it went over?
Probably in the $52 to $54 million range. I mean, the Canucks said they believed it was a fair offer for Filip Hronek. I'm not entirely sure that the agent or the player were all too pleased with it or thought it was a fair offer from their point of view. I mean, look, the ask for Filip Hronek was always going to be in and around the $8 million range. You look at his comparables, some of those guys are getting paid that much money. But when you really look at it, Filip Hronek has been a beneficiary of Quinn Hughes. And that's not a slight on him. Guys play with Hughes. Quinn Hughes gets guys paid. Look at Luke Shen. Made some money, right? So when you look at this, I just don't know that the Canucks are willing to go that high. I'm not entirely sure that, Filip Hronek's a guy that can necessarily drive his own pair. Great defenseman. The Canucks paid a premium to get him. And, from his point of view, are they going to pay the premium to keep him here? And that's the big question.
Well, on that note, are you not pot committed with this defenseman, given that you gave up first and second round picks and given that he's kind of been the linchpin to your season here in terms of turning it around?
Well, I mean, when you look at it from that point of view, it's you gave up this much. How are you not going to, re-sign him? I mean, the Detroit Red Wings were never going to re-sign him because they knew, he was going to cost this much or whatever the price would end up being. I think at the end of it, they do get something done. I think that, he does want to remain a Vancouver Canuck, but not at that price cost, like not at $8 million a year. I mean, maybe $7 million, but then even guys, you look at it, $7 million defensemen are, few and far between in the National Hockey League. And when you look at them, they are the studs. If you're getting paid $7 million or more, you're of the Quinn Hughes, Cale Makar, Jacob Trouba-esque, the guys that go and you're able to drive your own pairing. I'm not entirely sure that, when you really look at the numbers and get down to it, Filip Hronek's able to do that.
That's about to change, though.
That's going to change.
That's about to change.
For sure.
Like with the changing economics, I mean, the guys that are just graduating their contracts now that are near the top of the league, that is bound to change. Now, if you're going to move on, if they reach an impasse, and they're not there yet, folks, but if they reach an impasse, I mean, the Canucks can only go one of two ways. Like, they're not going to trade. They need to trade for another right-hander, don't they? Like, they can't go out in the open market and try to find another right-hander. The only way that you recoup this is by trading for another right-hander, and that'll either be an inexperienced right-shot defenseman or an older one that somebody's trying to get out from under. And again, this is not a scoop. I'm just saying, maybe the Blues want to get out from under Parayko. And so, you get them to eat some salary and you're committed to Parayko then for 6 more years, something like that. But that's not a position that you're not in a position of strength at this point if you reach an impasse with Hronek.
Well, I think that's the biggest thing, right? You look at the UFA defensemen that are here or that are available that are right shot defensemen. Of them in points, Brandon Montour's first. He's probably going to stay in Florida with the Panthers. Second on that list, guys, is Tyler Myers in points. So right shot defensemen putting up numbers are few and far between that are unrestricted free agents in the National Hockey League. So if you can, the Canucks might have to buck up a little bit here. And obviously this is why it's a negotiation and it's going to go back and forth. But the first initial offer definitely, I don't think was received too well.
No, it's a great point, Blake. You're either going to have to settle for unproven or overpaid because there's not anything on the free agent market, and you don't have the trade capital to go out and make another Filip Hronek style trade. Okay, so then let me just ask you this, Irf. Do you think the Canucks ultimately have to get to 7.85, the Hughes number, and just say, look, Filip can't pay more than Quinn Hughes. 7.85 is as far as we can go?
I think so. And I think that from Filip Hronek's standpoint, like, how are you not signing that all day?
Right.
You if the bag that they offered you was only $54 million and they're willing to go up to 7.85 times 8, I'm signing that every single day of the week. You're not as good as Quinn Hughes. Quinn Hughes is going to get paid in 3 years again. It's going to be a lot more money than you're making now, but this is the most money at this point in time in his career that he will ever see. So if that ends up going that high, I would be shocked if he didn't sign that.
Take it away, Vancouver bias. Isn't 7.5 a year? Isn't that a fair offer for Filip Hronek, given what he is that we talked about? Like, I don't even know that you need to match it to Quinn Hughes. If I'm Alan Walsh, or if I'm the Canucks, I could talk to Alan Walsh about this. I think you can make it. And again, the agents can say that we're still not taking it. They've got that within their purview, but 7.5 seems pretty fair, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. Over 8 years. I don't think that, obviously he's having an incredible season. And the things that he's doing with Quinn Hughes, and you're gonna base some of this stuff on some of the success that they do have in the postseason. And if the Canucks make it far, and Filip Hronek does want to stay, and things like that. And I'm not saying that he doesn't, but he wants to stay for what he's worth. 7.5, Blake. I agree. Like that for him is more than fair.
Well, especially since Elias just left a little on the table too, right? Like you can mention that to him as well. Now, you don't think he can drive his own pair, huh? I'd like your
I'm not super convinced on it either.
Boy, do we all wish the coaching staff would at least give him an opportunity to? Like, it's something that was a very popular narrative earlier in the season. Like, let's see him outside of Hughes and really know what we have before the contract becomes a thing. And yet we're running out of runway.
I guess we have to define what drive your own pair looks like, though. Like, we've been spoiled here with Quinn Hughes. Like, that's driving a pair. I don't know that if that's the bar, not many are reaching it, right?
No, I agree. But I think that when you look at it, when Quinn Hughes was put with Noah Juulsen and Filip Hronek went and played with Nikita Zadorov, you really didn't notice that bottom pairing. Now, that's a good thing and a bad thing. So sometimes you don't notice those guys, and because they're doing things that are well. But if you're not noticing a guy on your bottom pairing and you're going to want to pay him $7.5 million a year, there's something to be said about that.
When we spoke last week, or if we were talking about the potential of, big deadline additions, right? Like, they were in for some very big names at one point, and we're through sort of the deadline season, if you want to roll it back to Tanev. And of course, the deal they made for Elias Lindholm, they wind up with nothing. They wind up with nothing. How did all of that go down?
Well, you got to go back to the Elias Lindholm trade, right? They make it at the end of January. That's their splash. That's the one where we're all sitting here days after saying, whoa, this is the all-in move for the Vancouver Canucks. But then over the course of the next month, they didn't have a good February. And then you said, okay, now the Canucks need to add something. And they need to add something, whether it's a top 9 forward. I know that they would have liked to have that done, or whether it was, Blake, as you mentioned, maybe another right shot defenseman, or at least a depth move in some regard. They didn't do that. Patrick Allvin said that, he believed he was in on a lot of the conversations. I do think that, Tyler Toffoli thought it was Vancouver or Nashville, ultimately ends up in Winnipeg. But I just think that, Elias Lindholm, if he was playing well, was a point-a-game guy, I don't think we'd be having the conversation that we're having right now saying the Canucks didn't do anything, right? Everyone around the Vancouver Canucks in the Western Conference got better. every single team. And obviously we know what Vegas did, and that's just a little crazy to be completely honest. But that's Vegas doing Vegas things. I think when you look at it, if you're a Canucks fan, you say, okay, this is the team that we have. But if there was an opportunity to get better for another depth option, that's what the fan base probably would have.
And I get the fans, those who are using the coping mechanism of Lindholm was our deadline edition. And the team's playing well. We didn't have but the fact of the matter is Canucks management went from pursuing some of the biggest names on the block to getting nothing. So, for me, that they recognize something that needed improvement and weren't able to achieve it. What did you make of deadline and the teams around Vancouver, and how much more difficult the slogging has gotten here in the Western Conference?
I mean, just to start with the Winnipeg Jets and Tyler Toffoli, they got the highest scorer that was available, right? The guy that's put the puck in the net a lot. Now he's going to go play with his buddy Iafallo, and obviously, he has some familiarity there with a lot of those guys. The Edmonton Oilers got better. If that experiment ends up working out with Adam Henrique and Sam Carrick, that's going to look good. The Vegas Golden Knights, no surprise, and everyone in the National Hockey League is they're picking up their jaws off the floor after they picked up Thomas Hertl. Dallas. Christopher Tanev, that was a name that we've talked about on this show, and I'm sure a lot of others did, of a player that thought that the Vancouver Canucks were going to get. And then, you look at some of the other teams, the Colorado Avalanche, who the Canucks are going to welcome tonight to Rogers Arena. They basically built an army, right? You get rid of Bowen Byram and you get Casey Middlestat. We haven't seen trades like that happen. Now, from the Vancouver Canucks perspective, I think that, after the deadline, they go in on Saturday and you beat up on the Winnipeg Jets handily. If they can play that type of hockey down the stretch here and heading into the playoffs, it is going to be it'll probably be a pretty good thing for the Canucks. On the other side of that, you're going to be playing against a Vegas Golden Knights team, or maybe a team that, like the Seattle Kraken or the Nashville Predators, who are going to be playing for their lives. And Vegas, if their acquisitions come back, as in Thomas Hertl, and you get Mark Stone in the first round of the playoffs, that's going to be scary.
Are we seeing Mark Stone first round of the playoffs? Are we seeing him game one, Irfaan, with the Kevin Nash meme ricocheting around our heads, and Roberto Luongo's tweet, because he seems a little upset about the loading up of LTIR. I do wonder whether we're going to see LTIR tweaks in the next CBA based on what we saw here with Vegas.
Yeah, I think you're going to see some tweaks, but let me be completely honest, guys. LTIR for the Vegas Golden Knights didn't affect the Seattle Kraken blowing a third period lead at home on home ice yesterday and losing in overtime to the Vegas Golden Knights. They didn't even have Mark Stone. They didn't even have Thomas Hertl. So as much as you want to talk about it, yes, the cap management and all that kind of stuff and whatever the Vegas Golden Knights are doing, they're using it to their advantage. I do think you're going to see Mark Stone. Whether it's game 1 or 2, I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but a lacerated spleen seems like it's something that you're going to have to be very careful with, when coming back from injury. But it wouldn't surprise me at all. So it's very, very early.
I'm not taking anything away from the Canucks. They've had a marvelous season, and they've entertained us throughout. Do I have to apologize for not having full faith that they have the pedigree of the Avalanche or the Golden Knights, who, as you say, really flexed muscle yesterday? Like, the Avalanche second period was something to behold. Is it wrong to have doubts about this team, given that they've had a couple
points? Of to behold periods or games recently?
Yeah, I mean, you just named the last 2 Stanley Cup champions.
Yeah,
right. I mean, and both teams got better at the deadline by purely on paper. Both teams got better. So if you're the Vancouver Canucks, I mean, you're happy with your team. You hope Dakota Joshua comes back. You hope Thatcher Demko is able to get this rest in this extended period. I know he's going to take care of his injury and rehab it, but you hope the rest is going to help him as well. I mean, getting him off the ice is probably the best thing, but this is your team now. So this is the focus. There's no more deadline talk. There's no more talk surrounding Elias Lindholm, if or when he's going to be moved at the deadline. I know there was some of that obviously affected the player when you hear his name. Rick Tocchet admitted it as well, but this is your team. So from the Vancouver Canucks perspective, it's now time to figure it out. You've got to iron out all the details in here before you get into April.
This won't be the last time I say
Colorado is their final frontier as the one playoff team they haven't beaten yet in the West.
This is not the last time I'm going to say this, but it seems to me, what do you think of this theory, guys, that teams that have made the playoffs for the first time in a long time, or core has made that first year, or like the third and fourth year are the times. Like the second year, not necessarily a great year. Yeah, you have some experience, but often there's a step back. That first year where you don't know any better, are you as likely to have a good run there as you are in year 4 where you've gelled?
I can get behind that. Remember that Edmonton magical run, Blake?
That's
and
right.
Then they came back and missed the
Hurricanes.
playoffs.
The Hurricanes did well, I believe, in their first year of sort of being in this core together.
What do you think, Irf? Too dumb to know any better?
Well, the bubble's a lot different than it is going to play in Vegas,
Fair.
game 3 or 4. And, when crowds get on you and teams get on you, the core of this team really hasn't been around that environment. Now, look, I'm not saying that they can, and you might be right, too dumb to know, but I mean, it's going to be tough. It's going to be an atmosphere that a lot of these guys have never experienced before, to be completely honest. And it's something that I'm interested in, right? You look at this team and the way that they've been the big dogs. You get everyone's Game 7 Stanley Cup final every single night that they play you. There's a target on your back when you walk into rinks when you're this good. And for the most part, they've handled it pretty well. So we'll just have to see what happens in April.
Hurricanes 18-19 went to the conference finals for first year making the playoffs. Yeah.
How do you think Casey DeSmith will do here when given the starters workload?
Well, I think that for him, it's an opportunity. And I mean, you look at after tonight, their strength of opponent really isn't all that high. So if Casey DeSmith can hold his own and the Canucks can play half a game as good as they did against the Winnipeg Jets, you're going to have some success. They're not playing any back-to-backs. They're going to have a couple nights off in between games. You're at home, so there is no travel. And, we've talked about it before. We've said it before. Guys play a little bit better and a little bit harder when their backup goalie's in net. Now, whether they think he's not that good, where DeSmith has been pretty good this season for the most part, except his run of recently, but I think it's going to be just fine for him.
Think we'll see Sheilofs at any point?
I don't know. I don't think. Look, I don't know if the Canucks are in the position right now to reward guys. I know Archdeep Baines, and he earned it. He was the AHL All-Star MVP. I think if Sheilofs is going to be a little bit different, I don't think you're going to need to give DeSmith any rest when you're playing, every second or third night. You're getting that practice time. You're getting that rest time. I think that points are still a premium, and the Canucks want to finish the top of the division.
What do you think of Lindholm getting over hearing his name in trade rumors for the Vancouver Canucks? Because needless to say, an irregular situation to trade for a guy and then have the guy hear his name in rumors 15 games later.
Well, I think the one thing it affected him, I don't think there was any secret of that. The week leading up to the deadline, when the report came out that, and making calls about Boston and things like that, I don't think it was any secret that it affected the player and, the family as well and things like that. The Canucks acquired him and he was on the air. It was in the air coming back from Cabo. He hasn't been here yet, basically for an extended period of time. Hasn't really had line mates that have been consistent. I know he's playing with Garland and Podkolzin now, which has kind of been a little bit of a line, and they've been able to do a few things well. It's going to be interesting, right? I think that they do like him. I think that both the player and management understand that he needs to play a lot better. And he also needs to play a lot better in the back of his mind because he's an unrestricted free agent. If you're going to want to go get your $8.5 million or what have you, you're going to need to play better. You're going to need to show other teams that down the stretch run you can be dependent on. You need to go back and try and be that guy that put the puck in the net 40 times in your career. So I do expect a motivated Lindholm the rest of the season. We're going to hopefully maybe see some power play time for him if they decide to tweak things again and load up as we head into the playoffs. But I expect him to play a little bit better.
Does that rumor kill any chance of him becoming a Canuck going forward?
I don't know if it kills any chance. I know that there really has been no negotiation talk. And that was their message from the very beginning, that there wouldn't be until the end of the season. And then by that account, Lindholm's going to take a look at what he feels that he wants to do, what's right for him and his family. And the Vancouver Canucks are really going to have to decide if you're going to pay 3 centers that much money.
Yeah, and the way he's wound up deploying him, that becomes, I think, the biggest issue here, even perhaps more than the trade rumors and him having to get over that, is that he's signing up to be a third-line center in the near term. And I'm just not sure you're going to be able to convince
They're going to
them.
point to that points column and say, that's the third-line center.
Yeah, and he's going to point to like 20 other suitors and say,
yeah,
I'd play first or second line
Yeah,
there.
yeah, probably
And
true.
score a lot more points.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Chandler Stevenson, and but only unfortunate Chandler Stevenson's going to point and say, "I got one of these." So that's the thing, right?
Is he one of the coveted centers on this UFA class?
Yeah, I think so.
Stevenson?
Yeah,
Oh, man.
yeah, I think he's going to be a guy there as well.
So you're telling me it's as deep as the right shot defense free agent class? and nothing against Stevenson. He's a very good player. I thought perhaps a little miscast in his role there in Vegas, playing as high up the lineup, but give him full credit for turning into the hockey player that he's turned into. I see he's played some wing there as well in Vegas this year, and he's a terrific player with the Stanley Cup ring. So Earth's right. He's going to get paid as well. Hey, these guys, the scarcity of unrestricted free agents in this league drives the price up on all of them.
Yep.
We've seen that year after year. You have to go down the pecking order to the Pius Suter level of player before you find any bargains in unrestricted free agency. Irf, awesome stuff. Thanks for this, buddy. We'll catch up next week.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you. Be well.
Hey, everybody. If you're enjoying what you're seeing here, then follow along with Sekeres Price on YouTube. I promise more content coming.
The kids call it subscribe on YouTube.
Well, how about liking it?
Do that as well. Smash it right now.